Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to the right side of campus. Here for Monday, November 26th, 2018. I'm your host, the big man on campus, putting a bow on another week of football, college football, and the NFL. College wraps up. We get championship week coming up. We also have another week of NFL, week 12 getting finished tonight. Houston against Tennessee. We'll break that down a little bit later, relive what happened this weekend. Hope everyone had a great weekend, made some money. Let's bring in our co-host, Donnie. Donnie, how you doing?
Doing good. Look, man, a lot of things went correct yesterday that we prognosticated on, so we can certainly go play armchair quarterback today. And I'm going to rant a little bit in a few moments once we get to the NFL side of things taking place last night in Minnesota. Why does it have to be so hard? Like, that should be the topic. Why does it have to be so hard? And why can't coaches just use simple thought processes when doing their business?
Well, because it doesn't work like that. It's gambling, Donnie. That's how life is in general. Most people don't do things the easy way. Most people make it difficult. It's just how it goes, man. Why can't when you walk out?
Yeah, that's stupid.
Why can't when you walk out of a door, someone hold it for you? It's a nice thing to do, but they don't. Why when you order a hoagie, do they not follow direction? Because it's easier to
but
just
then the
quickly
guy
do.
making the hoagies paid $8 an hour. The coach is making like
It
$7 million
doesn't.
a year to make simple
But this is.
decisions.
I understand, but again, this is not new, Donnie. We know Mike McCarthy's not a smart individual, but we'll get into that and more in a little bit
Not
here.
even Mike McCarthy,
Uh,
Mike Zimmer.
okay. Well, we'll get to that here in a minute. Let's welcome everyone in. Hope you had a great weekend. Do us a favor, hit the like button, say hello. If you're new around here, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're checking out all the great content here at SBR. If you're in the market for a new book also, make sure you check out sportsbookreview.com. They rate all the books. They give you the best options on what to choose for a book if you're in the market for a new one. So make sure you're checking out Sportsbook Review today, every day. Donnie, let's get into some headlines here. We'll start it out with Dwight Howard. All right, we're starting it out fast today. Dwight Howard, who, listen, this is a story that I believe for a lot of people, maybe you didn't see. You probably saw it. Maybe you didn't look into it or something. Happened over the weekend on Twitter. Basically, there is a transsexual woman that came out and said that Dwight Howard is and was in a relationship with her, and basically that they had a relationship for some time. They had sexual relations. He, was involved with transsexual sex parties and things like that, and basically was going to be outed by this woman and was threatened by not only him but people that were around Dwight. And now she's accusing him of all this homophobia and transphobia, and basically outing Dwight Howard as a homosexual and someone that is involved with hookers and transsexuals and all sorts of stuff. Very odd story. I'm not buying it totally. I need to see a little bit more proof here. I do know this woman has been involved before with doing this with rappers, and that not being true. As far as the whole story, though, Donnie, let's say it is true. It doesn't bother me much. I mean, his sex life is his business. Dwight Howard is towards the end of his career anyway. It's, I guess something for him where, this woman claims that it's Howard on the phone and she's, recording the phone calls and things like that. And he's threatening her and all sorts of stuff. But Dwight Howard has made a lot of money, Donnie. He's towards the end of his career. Definitely a story that has a lot of layers.
Yeah, it does have a lot of layers, and you're right. He does have a lot of money in the bank. Now might be the best time to say, my knee is giving out on me. I'm just going to, go live the rest of my life the way I want to live it, in the secrecy and the privacy of my own home, and stay off Twitter. And you can do whatever you want behind closed doors. It doesn't have one iota impact on me. But, you do deal with the locker room, and now there's a lot of ridicule. And let's be quite honest, he doesn't really help your team win whatsoever anyway, and costs a lot of money. So that's my thoughts on there. But it gives you a little bit of chuckle when you see how it appears on Twitter and how it gets out there. And, there's not really much coming out of the Dwight Howard camp right now, which would lead me to believe it's probably true, and they just don't want to fan the flames. But hey, to each his own. Whatever you want to do in your own privacy of your home or whatever you do I really don't care.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Keep in mind, there have been reports of people maintaining that this person also tried to expose rappers for being gay and that kind of stuff. So
there's a lot of gay
again,
people. There's a lot of people that don't
sure.
want their business in the street, and it's just human nature at this point. It's funny that people like to put it on blast. Like, let me guess what happened here. Hey, Dwight, got you on all these conversations. You better send $3 million over to my house cash. And he's like, I'm not doing that. Do what you got to do. And then this is what it turns out to be.
Yeah, no, it definitely could be. Um, definitely some layers to this story. But look, again, Dwight has made a lot of money in his career. He's towards the end, so we'll see. But you're right, not a comment from him. It was interesting though, Donnie, to read the story. According to the report on Saturday, though, he didn't play in the game due to a certain injury to his backside, and then this came out, which exposed him as let's say the taker in this relationship. So it was obviously kind of interesting. We'll see.
It's definitely it's morning headlines, so you knew we were going to talk about this coming into here. You can just see the name Dwight Howard down there, and you know where we're going with this, and it is what it is.
Yes, exactly. So there you go. 7:00 for some of you. That's you hear right away. Hey, we're just reporting the news here. Did Hue Jackson help? Well, listen, I mean, I was more interested in like what happened after the game. I thought Baker Mayfield really hates Hue Jackson. I think it's clear. I kind of do too. It's like, go away, all right? Just stop trying to be around. Like, just I don't know. He annoys the fuck out of me, Donnie. I hate Hue Jackson. Did he help? I don't really know. Looks like the Browns had helped them because they were ready to go. They wanted nothing more than to beat the hell out of the Bengals yesterday. They did so.
No, and it didn't help one bit. But look, I think Hue Jackson's a really nice guy. Like, I think if you met Hue Jackson at like Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas, and he had one of those ugly Christmas sweaters on, like, he would be a really nice guy to hang out and talk football with because he's been around the game and he just seems like a genuine guy. He's just not a good head football coach overall. But I like what Baker Mayfield said. Like, look, I'm not going to congratulate the guy. He's over there trying to help the other team. But at the same time, you do have to feel for Hue Jackson. It's not like he resigned as head football coach of Cleveland and then just went to Cincinnati. Like, he's still trying to stay in the game. And look, if your employer fires you, what are you going to do next? You're going to probably go to a competitor and say, I'll show you. But look, Hue Jackson's not going to show anybody at this point. And it was so fun, like the dapping at the end of the game. Like, he wanted to hug Mayfield. Mayfield had nothing to do with him. And how about the interception by Cleveland that runs over to the sideline and hands Hue Jackson the football like it was no big deal? It looked like Hue Jackson took the football like, hey, man, thanks. These guys really appreciate me, when it was a really disrespectful move. So much going on. I mean, Jeff, you have a head football coach that was in Cleveland for all that time, and you got whitewashed by him. Like, whatever you brought to the table for Cincinnati with signals and game plans and I built this roster. I mean, so hilarious, so poetic justice on that.
Yeah, he definitely looks like the Browns definitely had it out for him yesterday, and they, the handing the ball was funny for sure. Jimmy Butler, another game winner. That's 2 now for Jimmy Butler. He comes to Philadelphia 2 straight, down in the same spot. Hit one against the Hornets, and hits one last night. That's a big win for the Sixers. They did not play well in that game. We're down 20 points at one time. We're down 17 at halftime. It really couldn't get any traction in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, they cut the lead and got the win. That's a big time win for them. I know, people, it's only one game, but they came back in the game. D'Angelo Russell, they couldn't stop. Got back into the game. That's a big shot. But Donnie, that's what Jimmy Butler does. He gives you that added threat at the end of a game. They finally have someone that can take a shot and win a game like that, and he has no problem taking it. Impressive stuff from him, and he's hit both of them from the same spot, calling game both times. Nice work by the Sixers. Big win for Jimmy Butler, Donnie.
Yeah, I had the game tuned in. They were getting busted up. I saw all the stuff coming on Twitter. They can't get any stops. And before you could blink your eye, they erase it, which is what the NBA does in the final minutes. They erase a double-digit lead, erase the lead that the Nets had, then give up the lead again, and Jimmy Butler hits another 3. We don't spend a lot of time talking about the NBA, but it's nice if you have your squad that you cheer for where you have a guy that actually wants the ball at the end of the game, wants to shoot that jumper, and wants to win the game. Because if we rewind last year, Jeff, to the Sixers versus the Celtics, if the Sixers had a Jimmy Butler type, I'm not even talking about Jimmy Butler type player that didn't run away from the ball in the last 2 minutes, they beat the Celtics in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and it's nice to have someone like him around now. Big win. Look, the Nets were shooting 60% into the fourth quarter. I mean, they couldn't miss. Markelle Fultz, again, seems to be over the weekend. The Sixers have not seen to include him in their long-term plan, so that would mean that he will be traded, I'm sure, at some point. Reportedly, the Cavs have spoken to the Sixers about Markelle Fultz, which it was interesting, Donnie, because that's where I told them to send him. Do it. Get him out. Go do it. Let me ask you, Donnie. I know you're not a big NBA guy, but let me ask you, what are the Sixers waiting on? Why not go out and get J.R. Smith? What are they waiting on? J.R. Smith.
I mean, I don't know if they would trade him straight up, but I would let Markelle Fultz go for a second-round pick just so the other team can take his contract on that you don't have to pay him $10 million next year. He's a boss. He's never going to make it. I said it from day one. Absolutely day one. When they drafted him, I was like, you know what? It's not too bad, but they gave up a lot. But the minute you heard all of the fake injury information, which I dimed out real quick because it made no sense whatsoever, but, Sixers and the fanboys and the GM who drafted him, they're going to cover up. They're going to say he had fluid drained and there was something wrong. There's nothing ever wrong with his shoulder. He was never hurt one time. He has a mental disorder, and that's never, ever, ever, ever going to be corrected. Move on, get a second-round pick, dump the kid. The worst number one overall draft pick in NBA history. Just cut it loose.
Yeah, whatever you can get for him at this point, I would be fine with. Couple of coaches fired over the weekend. Larry Fedora, one of them in college. Larry Fedora gone from UNC. Who else was cut? Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, and they're going to hire Mac Brown,
from...
Jeff. How about that? They're going to hire Mac Brown at UNC. Can you make a worse hire? And I just put it out on Twitter a little while ago, Jeff. When you fire Fedora, which you had to fire him, you're at a big money school. They pay a lot of money. You got to win football games. But when you bring in Mac Brown, you know what it screams to me, Jeff? We are about to get sanctioned by the NCAA, and we are headed down a dark path, and we need a nice old man that can shake people's hand and tell us it's going to be all right until the next regime can get in there. The point of hiring Mac Brown is what, Jeff? Absolutely what?
Well, I think you just said what it was. That's a good point. And I think that's what it will be. A good guy that will be nice to everybody and take care of the Band-Aid until it's ready to heal. I agree. Who else was fired? Kingsbury goes. Clay Helton stays, as does Willie Taggart. Willie Taggart didn't go to a bowl game. Also, there was some racist posts made by Florida State fans. All sorts of crazy stuff going on down in Florida. But they are not going bowling down in Florida State, which is kind of pathetic. But Kingsbury, you have to figure he'll go somewhere and get hired by as a coordinator or something. Maybe out to the West Coast somewhere.
Now, Jeff, you're already right about that because you know where Kingsbury fits in because he's going to be a head coach down the line. He's young, he's an innovator, and it just didn't work at Texas Tech, and maybe you can rehab the image. You know where he would probably appear, which would be great? We talked about it going up to Washington State and just adding some fuel to that fire in the air raid. Or you know who's great at doing stuff like this? Great at innovation and bringing in coaches. How about if he ends up at a place like Alabama, Jeff? You know what I mean? Can't you see that as like one of those offensive assistants, special coordinator guys? I'm going to take the year off, but I'll still be involved in the program. He could do wonders just adding some wrinkles to top-tier talent, rebuild that image, and then he ends up at a place like Auburn. You know what I mean? I could just see it coming.
Maybe Purdue?
Jeff Brom swears to God he's not.
Well, if he leaves, I mean, I could see him at like a middle tier institution like that, or, where else? I think he's a decent coordinator. He's a good coordinator, actually. I don't think he's head coach, but maybe at a school like Purdue or somewhere like that. They already have kind of some pieces there to run.
How about
offense.
Illinois? Yeah, how about Illinois, Jeff? Instead of going the opposite direction, they extended Lovey 2 more years on top of it, and you just got to shake your head. I mean, you just have to shake your head.
Donnie?
I just don't get it. Go ahead.
What about make Kingsbury the coach and make Lovey the D coordinator? That would work.
I would fire him, but you can't. I would make Lovey like the special teams coordinator. You seeing his defenses out there, man?
Lovie Smith, it's so pathetic. He's supposed to be this big defensive genius, but his defenses are terrible every year.
Brutal.
I don't get it. But I don't think there's much Illinois can do. I think they're kind of handcuffed by what they did for this guy initially. So yeah, but we won't talk about Illinois football. By the way, Lovie Smith 9-27 as the coach at Illinois. Let's keep it moving here. No, Jeff Brom is not a done deal. Jeff Brom is still head coach of Purdue, and
Yeah, Jeff Brom's
according
doing it
to
the
him,
right way. Yeah, he's doing it the right way. You know what that means, Jeff?
I don't
Let
want
me
to
give you a
affect my.
handshake behind closed doors. Season's over. Let me send some waves over to Louisville. Like, hey, man, I don't know if I want to go. You know what Louisville does? All right, it was $3.5 million. Now it's $4.5 million. Oh man, I love Louisville. I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, I don't. I think he's that. You don't want to affect your team, but now that the Bulls kind of they made a bowl, right? Purdue, yeah, yeah. You don't want to affect your team, but I agree with you. I
Nah,
think
he
he's
don't
good
give a
as
damn
gold.
about that. He's just holding. I mean, that's just a good agent. That's a Scott Boras move. Like, they really want you. We're gonna really reach out to them like we want them, and then we're gonna pull back at the last moment, and I'm gonna increase your salary by $1 million a year, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, I firmly believed like they were just trying to get bowl eligible, and then it's like, okay, well now that we're bowl eligible, let's make this decision. Let's move on here into the recap of the NFL, which was an
Mhm.
interesting day yesterday. Eagles get the job done. Job done was about all you could say. It was a nice win. They figured it out. Only 56 allowed yards in the second half, which look, I don't know how you could explain what the Giants did yesterday offensively in the second half, particularly. I mean, Saquon Barkley was on fire, 100 yards at halftime. Not really sure I understand the thought process between not giving him the ball the rest of the game. What happened, Donnie?
Yeah, just watching that game it just makes me laugh. It's like you made the wrong hired head coach. You went for Pat Shermer, the nice guy who's an offensive guy, rode some coattails over his career, failed as a head coach, but second time around he's going to fit right in. Everybody's chirping at him. You decided you sold your farm on an old, decrepit quarterback in Eli Manning. And as an Eagles fan here today, and I like to rejoice in this, can we please keep like I see it in Eli. The fire's still burning there, folks, on the Giants. He still wants to play. Another 2 to 3 years for Eli so we can get free wins in Philadelphia every year against the New York football Giants. You knew it was coming. At the end of the half, hand the football off, kick the field goal. You probably win that game. Eli goes full blast. Eli throws an interception and sends that game on a hilt. They score 3 points in the second half. Please, as I just stand here like hand or what is it, hat in hand. Keep Eli around. It's going to be a benefit to my Philadelphia Eagles. 9-1 now, Jeff, in their last 10 against the Eagles. You can't beat that.
Eagles 127 rushing yards, really dedicated themselves to the run yesterday, which was good to see. Josh Adams had a nice game. Um, Look, the defense played well enough. I mean, it's about as good as you're going to get. There were a lot of big plays allowed. The Giants had over 400 yards, but they only scored 22 points, and you scored 25. The goal was to get a win yesterday. That was about it. It was win and advance, as they say. We'll see how it continues for the Eagles.
But, Jeff, yeah, you know what?
Browns.
Like, forget about even Eli in that game. Forget about even Odell Beckham Jr. Saquon Barkley was absolutely destroying the Philadelphia Eagles. And they go, you know what? You know what's going to be a great game plan in the second half? Let's put this guy on the bench and not use him anymore. Can you explain that to me as like you're watching that game saying, we
Uh,
are destroying the Philadelphia Eagles defense with one player, but yet you don't give it to him?
Yeah, I have no idea. I heard a quote yesterday, and I don't know if you saw this, Donnie, but on the Eagles post game live, they were saying that did Shermer make a statement that he was trying to give Barkley rest? Did you hear about that comment? Is that true or no?
It didn't even make any sense to me. Like either, like, are you going to just put him in bubble wrap? Like, what is the point of playing him? If,
Like
if your season is done and he's talking about rest in a football game, why don't you just deactivate him the rest of the year and say we'll save him for next year?
Yeah, I if that was true, I can't understand that at all. I don't know what he's talking about. But that was another bad hire by the Giants. I mean, Pat Shermer's a coordinator. We all know it. You know it, and I know it. I don't like it. I didn't like it at all. They continue to make bad hires as a head coach. Cleveland, 35-20. They jump out to a 28-0 lead. This one pretty much was wrapped up early. You just had to hope that it wasn't a Browns kind of game where they give it up. But they go up 4 touchdowns, up 35-7 at one point. Really just a cruised victory, and it continues to get worse for the Bengals. They can't stop anybody. Andy Dalton goes out with an injury. Jeff Driscoll comes in. Just a mess of a day, and it continues to get a lot worse for the Bengals.
Yeah, that was a really pathetic outing by the Bengals yesterday. And Andy Dalton looks like he might be checked out on the year. Injury, no injury. You're going to leave it up to Jeff Driscoll, which is a good thing because now you force the ownership of the Cincinnati Bengals to absolutely 100% just clean house. Force them to pay coaches that they don't want to pay because they're such a cheap organization. Completely remove everybody. Look, again, you can't change the front office because they have 15 family members working. So they're not going to fire their own family guys, and they're going to do whatever it is. But maybe get a new head football coach in there and a completely new regime and dump all those convict-type players that they have, which have never worked out, and rebuild from the bottom. But as long as the Brown family owns this organization, they're going to continue to suck. So I don't have any hope for them.
Yeah, and then you're hearing reports that they're grooming Hue Jackson to be the next coach. That he's going to take over once Marvin Lewis goes away. It's like, Jesus.
But yeah, what are you waiting for now? Like, what are they waiting for? Like, if this is the perfect shot, you're going to get blown out the rest of the season. You might lose your starting quarterback. But maybe, Jeff, maybe the Brown family plays it off like this. Andy Dalton never got hurt. I'm pretty sure we would have made a play for the playoffs late in the year. Marvin Lewis, 1-year extension. You can see it coming, can't you?
Oh, sure. Didn't Shermer go for 2 after the first TD? No, he did go for 2, but it's because they were at the 1-yard line. There was a penalty. It was half the distance to the goal. They decided to go for it.
And the best part about it too is like you're such an idiot. Like if I'm an NFL head coach, like watch this, Jeff. I go offside every single time on the extra point where the field goal is because those other coaches will say, "Hey, I'm at the 1. Let's go for a 2-point conversion," and then throw the football, and we all laugh at the other head coach. You have Saquon Barkley in the backfield, 1 yard to go, and you don't get him on the perimeter or you don't hand the football off to him and let him just do some damage. Isn't that what you drafted him for? That was so fun. I watched that play and just utter disbelief. I'm like, oh, man, at the 1-yard line, all you do is hand off to Saquon Barkley and you live with it. And they throw some inane pass and don't get it. Just a buffoonery. That's just the Giants as an organization. Bunch of buffoons up there.
Seattle with a big win down at Carolina. This was surprising to me. Seattle is able to run the football, did a nice job moving the ball, and Carolina, you just some weird losses. I mean, you have this one, and then you have the one last week where you go for 2 and don't get it. Big game for McCaffrey. Cam Newton was very good, but defensively they weren't good enough yesterday, and they couldn't get a stop.
Yeah, I know, and I had the under in that football game, a very rare under 46.5. It's 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. You got a red zone stop on a turnover, and everything was looking cherry, and then both these teams just fell off. Exactly what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. There'd be a lot of read option out there, and I was like, this is going to be perfect. It's going to churn clock. They're going to get, 3, 4, 5 yards a carry, and they're going to score on like 7, 8, 9 play drives that chew up 7 or 8 minutes, and you need a couple stops in the red zone. But look, if you're just going to hand the football off and guys are going to run up the middle and just go like 70, 80 yards at a time, you have no shot at covering that total whatsoever. So it was a complete misread on my part, and I underestimated, or should I say, I overestimated, Jeff, on the quality of defenses that both of these teams provide out there because it was absolutely non-existent in some of the biggest plays in the ballgame. But you're right. That's a Seattle-type win, right? Gritty, come back. Not giving up in the football game, down early, on the road, which they usually don't play very well, and they go sting again. And look, you had a late field goal that you could have won the game if you were the Carolina Panthers, at least put the pressure on the Seattle Seahawks. Weren't able to do it, weren't able to come up with any stops. Panthers dead and buried on the season. They were looking forward to the offseason already with Cam Newton.
Chargers, nice win yesterday for them. They blow out the Cardinals 45-10. Phillip Rivers, 28 for 29. 259 and 3 touchdowns. About as good as it gets for Rivers. He was terrific yesterday. Everyone really contributed. The Cardinals, Donnie, just 149 total yards, really. continue to struggle. I'm telling you, Alabama would beat the Cardinals. Chargers win big.
Yeah, and the one I said it had 27-10 written all over it, Jeff. I got the 10 right, and I got the cover right, but I didn't think there'd be that many points scored by one side, and that's what you get out of Arizona. If you're just taking it because, hey, San Diego doesn't play well, and they usually keep the game close. Have you ever seen Arizona's offense, people? Are you betting Arizona? Because the joke we were saying, Jeff, was, is it any way possible that Arizona can get to the 14-point mark? And I didn't think they could. And I started laughing in the first quarter when they get out to a 10-0 lead. I'm going, ain't this some stuff right here? Look at those Arizona Cardinals. But they turn, the glass slipper broke, and they turned very quickly into a very poor football team. And, oh, man, Leftwich now. He's running the offense. Yeah, congratulations, Byron Leftwich. You think it's an offensive coordinator, and you don't have weapons on offense. They took that team apart, as they should. Chargers are a good football team, but losing Melvin Gordon in that game for a couple weeks, that's going to sting.
Aaron Rodgers, another loss for them. They're now 0-6 on the road. Look, another odd move. Look, if you bet them last night, you got to ask yourself, why'd you do that? They don't win on the road. Aaron Rodgers had he just doesn't have a lot of help there, Donnie.
No, and like all those shows that we did last week, and it's always a common thing. And I try to talk to people, Jeff, because betting has a lot to do with, mind tricks in your head. Get it out of your head, betting against Aaron Rodgers. It's a pretty easy proposition at this point right now. He's getting older. He has zero weapons. Everybody's young. The defense is atrocious, and they don't win on the road. So people get all worked up like, ooh, Aaron Rodgers getting points. Who cares if Aaron Rodgers is getting points? Did you see that game last night? The Vikings should have beat that team by 3 or 4 touchdowns the way it played out. They couldn't kick field goals. Their coach is making idiotic moves out there. But thank goodness Mike McCarthy is just an equal as idiot as Mike Zimmer was last night. You have to get fired as a head football coach, Jeff, right? If you do things like this. It's 4th and 4 from the opposing 39, and you punt the football. It's 4th and 1 inch, and you hand it off in the backfield instead of snapping the football and falling down forward and keeping the chains moving. Mike McCarthy's an awful, awful football coach. But let's talk from a spread perspective, right? Let's talk about from a game perspective on what you're supposed to do. Break at the end of the football game.
You won.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, but that's not even besides the point. I should have won. Yeah, I should have been able to shut it off at halftime and went to bed. Instead, I had to sweat it out at the end of a football game. Let's take a look at a couple key things where Mike Zimmer was absolutely inept, or maybe you can say John DeFilippo was absolutely inept. Did you watch before the half, Jeff? They have a 3rd and 7 with 1:09 on the clock. They have one timeout. The Vikings don't have any timeouts, but the Green Bay Packers do have one timeout. They ran close to 36 seconds off the clock because they were scared Aaron Rodgers would get the football back. So instead, they throw a completion down to the 35-yard line and don't have any time to run up, spike it, and get a play or two off, which ends up costing them a missed field goal by Dan Bailey. The point of running that clock down, and Chris Collinsworth agreed with it, and I couldn't stop laughing at the actual premise of it. So you're telling me if they're at the 39-yard line or 38-yard line, whatever it is, if they get an incomplete pass at like 35 seconds, punt the football down to the 20. The Vikings and that defense were scared of giving Aaron Rodgers the ball with like 20 seconds to go with one timeout on his own 20. Did you get that?
No, I didn't really get any of the moves, particularly late in the game. No, I didn't get the move. But listen, I guess they wanted to make it, what was it, a 10-point game?
No, this was a tie game at half.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand that or any of the moves. But the 3rd and 1 or the 4th and 1 that you talked about before, I don't understand why every team doesn't just get under center and hike the ball. I don't know why you everyone knows when you're going to run it. They know it. We could see when you're going to do it.
How many times on a 4th and a half yard or 4th? Jeff, it wasn't even 4th. It was literally 4th and the nose of the football. How many times would you snap the ball? The refs give it to you automatically, even if you didn't get anything whatsoever. As long as you don't get blown up where you have a 5-yard loss and fumble the football. Because sometimes you see, Jeff, on the handoff, or the execution of the quarterback sneak, they might fumble it, and then that causes like the momentum to be. But as long as you snap the ball and you get it cleanly, that's an automatic first down. I couldn't understand that. And then the biggest one of the game, you get that bounce at the end of the game with a punt with about 5 minutes to go. That hits the Green Bay guy, and Minnesota gets it. And me and you were texting back and forth. I'm saying, this is perfect, man. Run the ball 3 straight times, force Green Bay to use all their timeouts, and you kick a field goal, and you give Rodgers the ball with like 4 minutes, and he has to score 2 touchdowns to win the game. Zimmer goes for it on 4th and 2 in a 10-point game instead of making it a 2-touchdown game. And you're literally like, a play or two away because you saw how it ended up. I'm sitting on the 3, a wide open guy, Devontae Adams. Thank goodness Aaron Rodgers missed that play. Otherwise, that would have been like a best case scenario, a push. Like football logic is it's so simple. Like you should just have it on a printout or like ask the fans what you should do. Going for that was absolutely ludicrous.
Well, the thing was though, they needed 2 scores either way. I guess he felt that they could get that and close the game. I don't know. I didn't really understand the thought process either. And you're right. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers makes a throw, I mean, you don't win that game, and that's
Yeah,
that's there's
you're
2
you're right.
teams,
It's the
Donnie. The
same thing
Packers
because
are
let's take a look even like the other premise of that, Jeff. If you go down and you're down 10, right? If you kick the field goal, it's a 13-point game. So let's fast forward the next drive. Let's just say that Aaron Rodgers does connect with Devontae Adams. That still makes it a 6-point game, not a 3-point game. So even if you get the onside kick, you have no timeouts and you have to score a touchdown to win the football game, not a field
Donnie,
goal.
listen,
It was
I hear you.
absolutely
Here's the
ludicrous.
thing, though. I think we as bettors think that the coaches care about
No,
points.
it's not
But they
bad. It
don't.
had nothing to do with betting the football game, Jeff. Like, if you kicked the field goal, it was over. There was no way the Packers could win. The only way the
Right.
Packers could win is if they stop you, score a touchdown, and then kick a field goal. 2 touchdowns in 4 minutes would have been damn near 99% impossible. But you could see if you get a touchdown and a field goal is a lot easier.
Yeah. No, listen, I hear you. I don't try to understand the logic with these coaches a lot of the time. You're right. You're right. Broncos, nice win yesterday for them. They beat the Steelers. Listen, I have no problem admitting that, the Broncos, they got the job done. I didn't think it was a great spot for them. I know at home, I just don't like Vance Joseph. Sorry. But they have played pretty well in these spots. And you look at the Steelers, I mean, time and time again had opportunities to take care of business. They kept fumbling. They kept, basically bottling it. Bad pick. By the way, if you had the Steelers and the over yesterday in that game, that pick was brutal because if they score there, the game goes over.
Not even
Because
that,
it's
Jeff.
tied
Not in
at
the
them.
first half when the idiot tight end decides he wants to have a bumper car collision and fumbles the ball out of the end zone. Did anybody ever just have a problem with Jeff just tucking it and going down and maybe I don't get in? Or what's the whole urge of I need to make sure I get in the end zone here? Because I'm pretty sure if he fell down at the 1, you could probably hand it off and get the touchdown on the next play. Just a bonehead play by the tight end.
Yeah. By the way, Donnie, one thing about that Viking Packer game,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's perfectly clear who the best team in the NFC North is, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to stick to it. I have the Vikings winning this division.
No. The Bears are the best team in that division. Stop.
I called it a
That
couple
Vikings
weeks
team
ago.
is a bunch of
I
that
said that the
Viking team.
Vikings would lose to the Bears and then still win the division. I'm going to stick to it. Now, Xavier Rhodes is probably going to be out multiple weeks, and that really hurts that Vikings team.
That Vikings team's they're a bunch of clowns, that team. They just barely scrape by. The Bears are a better football team, clearly. Give me the Bears, baby. Chicago, baby. Chi-Town repping. But yeah, nice win for the Broncos. That was a big one. Steelers kind of fall back a little bit. They again, too many fumbles in this football game. But Matt Nagy is an idiot coach. One of the long lines.
He's learned on the job. I like it. Look, I'm
John.
not hating on the Bears, Jeff. You know I really like the Bears. Like you don't just throw out wagers on the Bears and say, hey, I just think the Bears are a really good football team. I just think when it comes down to it, I think the Bears are going to trip themselves up in a couple spots, and they have a tough one. Look, if you're going to run Chase Daniel again on the road, I know the Giants stink and they're out of it, but that offense left a lot to be desired last week with Chase Daniel. Now you got some film on him. He doesn't want to extend the ball. He doesn't want to throw it deep. They're going on the road. It's an interesting spot. I want to see what that line actually opens up with.
He's not going to be the quarterback. Trubisky will be fine.
No, they said he's probably going to be out 1 week is the way they're looking at it.
Well, I'm not worried about the Giants very much. But either way, with a healthy quarterback, they are the best team. Defense wins championships, baby. Not recently anymore, but
Yeah.
just a
It can win you
statement.
division. It can win you division, yeah.
Hue Jackson will be the first coach to be fired twice in one season. LOL. I don't think he doesn't really have any
They're going to
reason to be
keep
fired.
Jackson. Like, if you know anything about the Cincinnati Bengals as an organization, they have a real fondness for Hue Jackson, Marvin Lewis. Do not be surprised if Hue Jackson sticks around because they are a family-run idiot business. And it doesn't matter what, just the best part about the NFL, and is actually the worst part, is if you have a bad owner, it doesn't matter what you do. You print money. It doesn't even matter. Like, nothing matters. You could put out a product where your team goes 0-16 every single year, and you print money. It's amazing.
I'm being told to wake up because of my comments on the Vikings. They don't care about points. I'm just making a comment. I don't have to wake up from anything. I'm just saying I don't think that the coaches care about that. I would have did what Donnie said, but I'm not really sure I'm being told to wake up. Just an opinion. You missed out on the biggest sports story of the season. Listen, that ain't the biggest sports story of the season, OG.
What is?
No one cares very much here about Argentinian soccer. A sad story, but we see it all the time. Fans attack buses. It is what it is.
Yeah, I saw it was Boca Juniors, so that was like a 17 or 16-year-old team. Like, what was it?
No. Their teams. No, they're not. They're a senior team. They're just called Boca Juniors. That's just their name of the team. They hate each other. I mean, it's Buenos Aires. They hate each other. Again, I mean, I get you love soccer. I get that, but it's not the biggest sports story of the weekend. The biggest sports story of the weekend, Donnie, in this country was Dwight Howard. That's the biggest. I think that was the biggest sports story, frankly. But yeah. So let's move on to college. Then we'll get into some Monday Night Football, and then we will wrap it up. College football. Oklahoma, West Virginia, on a Friday night. What a shit show that was. My God. Amazing. And a friend of mine
before we break this game down, and I'm just like, forget about it, because I know you had a wager on it, and it didn't work out, and maybe it should have, maybe it could have, would have, but from just a fan perspective, like, yeah, exactly. I know you did. But could you watch that game, like, as a football fan? Like, do you like that? Honestly, like, I'm not even trying to hate on just because some people really like that, and some people say that's exciting, and it came down to the wire. Look at this. Do you enjoy that type of football, or would you rather just have like a Alabama Auburn type game that's a little bit more, but you see some defense? Because me, as a preference, I don't enjoy the Big 12. I think it's hideous football.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I feel like if I'm a neutral and I want to see score, I mean, it's fun. You see how I think it's more you just laugh at it and how bad the defenses are, or the ineptness of the defenses. But yeah, I mean, it's not really my cup of tea. I don't like it. I prefer, some defense. I like seeing, like a Chicago Bears play defense, or an Alabama, whoever, Michigan, not Michigan this week, but normally any of those teams. Yeah, I'm not into it either. And sitting on your hands the entire game sucked. But Donnie, a good point by my friend Ryan, who he made a comment that made total sense. If you're a football player, why wouldn't you go to the Big 12 to play defense? That's such a great point. I mean, it's got to be the most damning experience of your life. I mean, there's nothing really you can do. I mean, no one cares about it. It's amazing.
Yeah, but it almost doesn't make sense because we laugh a lot. Like, why can one conference just play, like, MAC football, let's just say, or the Big 12? Like, there's no premise put on defense. And it gets to the point where you say to yourself, we can't stop. Like, if you're West Virginia, we can't stop this kid. Why don't you get out of your stupid 3-3 setup and go, like, just bring in 0-1 cover blitzes? Because what does it matter anyway if they're just going to peel you back? Maybe you get a sack. Maybe there's a misread. Maybe you get a pick six. Maybe you get lucky and somebody drops the football. But sitting back there on 3rd and 15s and having guys run wide open down the seam every play, it just scratches my head, because if I'm going to get torched, Jeff, at least I'm going down bringing the house every play, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't understand some of the defensive moves in the game. I didn't understand
like
anything.
A 3-man pass rush where a kid who's mobile already can hang back there for 20 minutes. And the best one, Jeff, I think was one of the 4th down plays on the goal line where it looked like, you know what? They're going for it. You can get a stop here, West Virginia. They drop 8 guys back, and the white tight end is wide open because he just ran straight 5 yards and turned around, and nobody covered him. It was just baffling to watch the whole game.
It's so crazy that And then you look, though, Donnie, at the difference in the game, though, were defensive plays. And that's if you're in Oklahoma. You're not going to
Two
get the
touchdowns.
stops. The goal is to maybe make that one play on
Yep.
defense that gets you a pick six, or a fumble six, or whatever. And they were able to do that. Oklahoma. I mean, I don't know, just ugly to watch. Apple Cup. This was an interesting game, and look, I will say, I know you're not going to say because you don't like the team, but I do. I like Washington State. It's a shame, the conditions sucked, but you got to play the game at the end of the day, and Washington State didn't do it. They didn't play well at all. Jake Browning did enough. Gardner Minshew threw too many interceptions. It was tough to play in this kind of game, but both teams had to play in it, and Washington was very good in this game. Great win for the Huskies here.
Yeah, it was. I watched that game. Obviously, I had to play on Washington State, and a lot of the reason for having to play, Jeff, is because I wanted the really strong defense and better ground game in bad conditions. People were saying, the rain's going to be out of there. It's not going to be bad. Every weather forecast I checked had a horrific weather forecast saying it's going to be heavy snow or it's going to rain the entire football game. I want the better defensive team in that game.
I don't. And I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I saw the similar situation of it's just scattered showers and stuff, maybe a snow squall once in a while. But either way, it was definitely better suited conditions for Washington.
Yeah, and it also was one of those games where a lot of this goes into it. Like, we're going to talk Michigan State, or Michigan football versus Ohio State, but when you really break it down, like, there is a mental block on some of these teams. Like, Big Brother just says, look, it doesn't matter what our record is. We're going to slap the hell out of you. And that's exactly what Washington did. Wire to wire, epic beatdown. And you saw the comments after the game from the kids on Washington, like why were people surprised? Like, we do this every year to Washington State. We just play good defense and their air raid goes away. It's just what happens. It's one of those mental blocks where until you have a superior, unbelievably dominant team that can overturn Big Brother, they just take out their pin pan and slap you, and you just go back to your cubbyhole.
Ohio State, they also slap little brother Michigan. What a disgusting performance if you're Michigan. And listen, I know there are Jim Harbaugh fans out there. I'm not really seeing it. I don't see it, the love affair with this guy. I know he's a recruiter, I guess, and that will sell for them. But the guy doesn't win big games ever. This was a pathetic performance. He is so stuck in the 70s as a coach. Just no adjustments, no nothing. Defensively, they were terrible. This was an all-time beatdown. And again, Donnie, a player guarantees a win, and they get absolutely fucking crushed. I don't blame him, though. I was just really pointing that out. But how long can you put up with this if you're Michigan? I just don't see it. I don't know how you can keep justifying this guy as a coach. I don't care that he won 10 games. I don't care that he almost got to a playoff. He didn't, and he never does. And that's the point here. If I'm a Michigan fan, I want him gone. And I hate that stupid argument. Well, who are you going to get that's better? There's a lot of people out there that are better. You go out there and you scout a coach. You go out and try to find one. Jim Harbaugh is not the guy right now for Michigan. He doesn't win. This team can win. They have the ability to win. He's stuck, though, and he's always been stuck. No matter who the quarterback is, he's been stuck in the 70s. You must move on from this guy. He's not working out there.
Yeah, but I'm going to counter that point, because if you're Michigan, you're not really a football school. You're a Big Ten team. You have a really good academic schedule. You play competitive football. Like, Michigan's not in the business to win titles.
Stop that.
Like,
this team
Ohio State is a look. Hold on. Ohio State is a football factory. Lower standards to get into the school. They know and love football. That's what they are built for. They go and get the high-paid head coaches, Urban Meyer, to get in there. It's a fertile recruiting base, and that fan base and that school is dedicated 100% to football. Michigan, academics, pristine. We wear a suit and a tie. We're not going to talk trash. We're going to walk the straight line. We're a pristine university. They're lucky that they can get a guy like Jim Harbaugh to give them 10 wins, because that's not a football school, Jeff. It's not the 90s or the 80s anymore, or Bo Schembechler. They don't win national titles at Michigan.
I don't want to hear that.
Be happy.
I don't want to hear that. Listen, Notre Dame hasn't won in years. Tennessee, all these teams, they haven't won in years either. They're football. Listen, Michigan is we might not think it is, but they have a pedigree there. They have an athletic program there. They have a pedigree that we're going to be in the mix every year. they've won national titles. They've had Lloyd Carr. They've had Schembechler.
Did they
But
win
they've
like
been in
one
this.
national title? How many national titles does Michigan actually have as a football program? Like not out of the like 40. Look
I
that
want to
up.
say a few. I think they won a national title in '97, and then before that it was the '40s. So they
Yeah,
do
see,
have a
they're not a
national.
football school.
Okay, but it's not Donnie. I'm not. I'm not telling you they're a football power. I'm telling you, in the scheme of things, though, they consider themselves. I don't. I don't know if they are, but I don't think Notre Dame is either. But they have that pedigree. Michigan sells. People like Michigan. They have a lot of
No, they
fans
do,
out
and it's
there.
great.
They're big
It's a
people.
great fan base.
But
But I mean, there was a reason why they called it a library. They have like 110,000 people, and it's the quietest stadium in the country. It's a wine and cheese crowd. Look, man, they're highly educated. Going to Michigan, graduating Michigan, you're going to get a damn good job because it's a great institution. But you can't step up to the level. Like Ohio State is just built for football. You're not going to beat them, and if you do, it's going to be like once every 10 years at this point now.
he's not the guy. Sorry, it doesn't. Stop saying that, and stop this crap that they have to. They're lucky to have a guy like him.
They
What
are.
do
I
you mean
mean, they
like
have
him?
Rich
He's
Rod,
not a good
Brady
coach.
Hoke.
What do you mean like
But
him?
you see, and again, they get down the path of they want Michigan men as a head coach. No, but that's
Well,
their
that's a
tradition.
bad idea.
That's what they like. But I'm telling you, that's what Michigan is about. Tradition, a Michigan man leading the way. They're not going to
Yeah.
beat the really elite football programs because they're not a real football school. Lower the academic admissions. Go out there and get a sleazeball as a head coach, and maybe you can get after Ohio State. But until you do that and continue to play by the rules, which is great. It's admirable. It's a great institution. You're not a football school, though. They're just not.
And they're not going to do that. They don't do that at that university, and that's why they have come up short. And if they want to win, they're going to have to change the way they look at things. Because you look at on the basketball side as well, Donnie. They have come up short because they don't buy into this. We're going to pay people to come here. They don't play like every other university. And if they are fine with coming in second, that's fine. And that's
Yes,
kind of
they
what
are.
they are. They're a second rate. We're okay with coming in second or third. We're good with getting there. And then they, again, as a university, whine when they don't win. Because you don't go out and do things that you're going to win with. Again, we get it sleazy to go out and buy players, but everybody else does it and you don't. You have a coach that just runs an offense that's stuck in the 80s. Then go change
Yes.
it. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say. If it was my decision, and I agree with you 100%, I would play the game the way everyone else plays it, Donnie. If everyone else cheats in a card game and you're not, you can't whine
You're
when you
going
lose.
down, yes, but exact. That was my whole point. Like they are a really good institution, and I know a lot of people get upset at Harbaugh. You got to fire him and get rid of him, but you're just going to go to another Michigan man right behind Jim Harbaugh, and you're not going to get anywhere until you get outside of La Familia, Jeff. You're not going to have any true leadership in there that's going to be able to change that tide. Remember back in the day. You're too young to remember this. Lou Holtz went to Notre Dame. And the only reason why he went to Notre Dame was struggling in the doldrums. That whole, luster of the Golden Dome was all worn off. Lou Holtz went in there, Jeff, as a high academic institution. I'm not coming here unless you give me 6 or 7 guys who can't get into the school, and I'm going to get them into the school so we get some talent. The Tony Rices of the world that never would have been able to get in there, who are actually catalysts for leading them back on their way. That's what you need. You need a coach to go up like Nick Saban, or let's say Les Miles. He's a Michigan man. Go back to Michigan and go, I'm not taking this job unless you give me 15 flyers on guys that can only get, the only school they can get into is West Virginia. That's when I'll become your head football coach.
People saying Michigan needs a quarterback. Give me a break. Give me a fucking break with that. They have a quarterback. Patterson's a hell of a quarterback. They don't know how to fucking use him correctly. It's not him. He killed it at Ole Miss because it was the right offense for him. They worked around him. Hugh Freeze worked around him. But fucking Jim Harbaugh, the God gifts to earth, can't. He can't figure it out. Shea Patterson's a fine quarterback. He can do wonders there. It's a shame, though, that they keep a fucking leash on the kid.
Yeah, Jeff, imagine
Don't let him
having
do
that
anything.
good. I mean, first of all, you got shredded for 64 points, but imagine having that good of defense. And you just need to put a semblance of an offense around it, and you're going to do damage. And this wasn't even a very, very good Ohio State team or a loaded Big Ten. Like, oh, my God, look at Penn State. They're killers. And Nebraska's down. And the winner on the one side of the bracket was freaking Northwestern. Like, this is a down year in the Big Ten. This was your shot to go out and say, we're the better football team here in this instance. And they just didn't. And that probably what hurts Michigan fan the most, because when everybody builds it up and goes, this is our year, and you don't get it done, that's when people get angry.
I mean, Shea Patterson, he destroyed the SEC last year. Destroyed them, or 2 years ago, whatever it was. He comes to Michigan, can't do anything. Yeah, I'm sure that's him. It's his fault. Mackenzie Milton, Donnie, goes down. Horrific injury here. Very poor, very sad. And they're going to have to go to the AAC final against, by the way, Memphis is a favorite, Donnie. 5.5-point favorite in this game. UCF
was a favorite. Yeah, UCF's a favorite, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. I'm saying they're a favorite, which is crazy.
And drop it.
Yeah, this is a big, obviously sad situation for UCF, but now they can go back and, fawn over their national title win last year. Quickly, Donnie, this
I
was
don't
included.
I don't think he's going to play. Is he going to play again, though? I don't even know if he's going to play football again, which is such a shame, because he's a great college quarterback, man. You hate to see that.
Oh, yeah. No, you definitely do. By the way, Donnie, LSU, Texas A&M. What a fucking crazy game that was.
Man, oh, man.
That could be the craziest game I've ever watched. I mean, that was...
I woke up. I didn't actually watch the overtime, Jeff. I woke up and looked at it, and I saw the 7 OT moniker, and was like, oh, my God, there had to be so many wild plays. And just watching those overtime highlights kids were making plays all over the field, man.
Yeah.
It was probably would have been great to watch live. And now, look, if you had a bet on it, I don't know if you're enjoying how that was playing.
Well, that's the thing. I was on Periscope watching it, and there were people on there, Donnie, that had A&M. There were also people that had LSU.
Right.
And you're hoping, okay, let's get this 2-point conversion tight. Let's go to another overtime for a chance to cover the 3. And then it was I didn't have anything on the game. It was an interesting observation, though, of ups and downs. Truly, how quick, it was interesting. What a crazy wild game. And then they poured Gatorade on Orgeron, and the game hadn't been over yet. Did you hear about that, Donnie, right?
Why? Oh, before the last couple plays where it was
basically,
like that last second.
At the end of the game, they had thought the game was over, so they poured Gatorade all over Orgeron. But then they reviewed the play and found out that the kid's knee was down, and that ended the play, so they had another opportunity. Then A&M scored a touchdown after that play, and he had Gatorade all over him. It was definitely pretty crazy. FSU, they're not going bowling. We're not going to spend a lot of time with them. But Donnie, here's someone who is going bowling, and shout out to my boy, my homeboy, Matt Rule. Matt Rule goes down to Baylor, Donnie. 1 win last year. But they're going to a bowl this year, Donnie. How about Matty Rule? How about that?
Yeah, and how about the undercurrent down there? We don't know if this Matt Rule.
We don't want
working
Matt Rule.
Out well. You won one game where you lost about 90% of your players and getting sanctions down. The bane of existence in the NCAA, the embarrassment of the Big 12, and this guy's getting you to a bowl game in under 2 years. Now that says something about a guy who's got that going in the right direction. Maybe they'll play defense at Baylor one day, Jeff.
This guy is a hell of a coach. I'm going to tell you right now. And down the road, you better believe one day he's going to be coaching at a big program. You better believe that.
He's talking about an NFL coach. He's going to be an NFL coach in 10 years.
Or going to there. This guy is a great coach.
He has that mindset that usually you have like a Cliff Kingsbury. Like, well, he's not really going to be an NFL guy. But Matt Rule has everything in his way, or everything like that CEO head coach. Like, I'm going to be the head coach. I'm going to have 2 coordinators. I'm going to make sure this program is going the right direction. He's the quintessential NFL head coach coming from
He's the complete opposite of what they've always had there.
He's like John Harbaugh. Reminds me a lot of a John Harbaugh type guy.
I think Donnie, to be a great coach, you have to not only be good on the field, but you have to be good off of it as well. You have to be able to handle these kids. You have to be able to, and I feel like he's kind of a good figure in kids' lives. Look, if I'm a father, I don't want my kid to go play for a guy like that. Sure. Great work by him. Terrific stuff. We always love Matt Rule for what he did at Temple, but he has done some great things down at Baylor as well. From 1 win to a bowl game. Good for them. Looking forward to seeing how they perform in their bowl game. Boise, Donnie, my other favorite team. Yeah. Fuck you, Boise. I love you. I love Boise State, Donnie.
Jeff,
My
now
boys.
look, Boise's hosting the conference championship this weekend in their home again. Get that same MO out there again, Jeff. As I'm just saying, like Boise minus 2.5 again. Like, are they just baiting people just to say what? Is it like the Cleveland Browns of last year, where it's just like we're just going to keep throwing this out here, and everybody's going to continuously take the bait on the road team? Listen, it's pretty funny the way it works out.
And you know what's going to be this week? They can't do it 3 times. They can't do it 3 times. They can't beat Fresno. Listen, I told all of you, Utah State was a fucking fraud, a fugazi, a complete counterfeit. I told you that, Donnie. In my biggest voice, they're a fraud. And they were, just like I said, just like Fresno was as well. And this week, you could take it to the bank. Boise will win again because Brett Rippon's a good quarterback. They have a great defense, and it's their year. You can't try to be the king. If you come at the king, you best not miss, as an Omar Little said. And again, Donnie, a man's got to have a code. Boise's got that code. They've been beating teams left and right that are supposed to be big-time offenses. They went down 7-0 in that game, Donnie, in both them games, and still came back and got the chicken. How about Boise?
Yep.
How about
you know, it's 2 quick things that we can bring up here. Ron Hextall, the god of all Flyer fans, has been fired as the GM and executive vice president. So maybe you're getting some movement here in this whole let's draft and wait 15 years for players to develop. It's not really working out too well. But number 2, Jeff, I do got to bring this up before we get out of here today. Like, I like to watch older shows, like completely start to finish, that I already watch them. And I'm on The Sopranos, and I'm on season 6 right now. I've watched, 50, 60 episodes already. I only have about maybe 5 or 6 to go. And you know what episode was on yesterday? And I know you're in a little bit of the doldrums in college basketball, and but I had a great weekend in football, which is good because it lifts everything up and says, you know what? Seeing things clear, get some W's, it helps. The episode where Tony couldn't win a fucking game, man. No matter what he did, Carmelo sells the spec house. He's got a sure thing in the Jets San Diego Charger game, and he only bets $10,000 because Carmelo wouldn't give him the money. He's losing his mind. It was such a poetic episode to see that and be like, like what an omen that was, where you just look at that, no matter what you press, the kicker's out. It doesn't matter. The other team wins, and you're saying stuff. This doesn't make any sense in this one. I actually thought about you over the past week and a half in college basketball, looking at that. I was like, God damn, look at this episode on.
No, listen, and you know what? That's such a common thing. It's so important that you have to understand as a gambler, and that's where I think the difference between people on Twitter exists. People that think everyone's going to win every time, it's just not going to happen. And if you think that way, I wouldn't do this because I don't think it's for you. You have to accept that people are going to lose. It's going to happen. But in that episode, Dottie, what made it so worse was Hesh gave Tony a loan, and Hesh was breathing down Tony's neck too to pay him because if you remember, his girl dies. Hesh's girl, remember? He finds her dead.
Yeah, that was after. But Tony shows up and he's like, "Hey," he gave him a Cleaver hat, I believe it was, and he's like, "Oh, I was expecting $200,000." And all of a sudden, Tony for the next half of the episode, every time they met, he was turning the screws. And Hesh was hilarious in that instant because he kept telling his girlfriend before she died, like, "How about this? I lend the guy money, and he's making it seem like it's my fault out there." Oh, so it's classic, man. What great act, man.
Yeah, and they also try to make Bobby and everyone tries to basically tell Tony to just don't pay Hesh. What's he going to do about it?
Exactly.
Yep.
And then
also,
Tony
AJ.
We don't want to say the man, but the guy in the back seat there he's complaining about maybe this guy should do other things to help him out his construction job because Vito earned 3 times as amount as you do.
Yeah, Carlo Gervasi, right? Who ends up snitching on all of them at the end of the day. But yeah. Also, Donnie, AJ proposes to Blanca, but then she dumps him at that Puerto Rican parade.
And you know what? AJ goes into a malaise for the next, I don't know, week, 2 weeks, month, 2 months.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him because how he pulled that dime piece and then lost her, that would ruin me as well for at least 2 months if I was.
Well, listen, Donnie, again, for someone that's curious, you can actually ask me because it happens to me all the time. I generally outkick my coverage every time. It can weigh on you, Donnie, because you expect to not. No,
I would have went into a shell. Yeah, I would have lost my love for life if that would have happened to me. You're going down to the Puerto Rican Day parade. The kid likes you. You're accepting the kid, and then she just bounces.
He decks the car out and Puerto Rican flags.
He's the only white guy there, but, it's his girlfriend, Dominican, Puerto Rican, whatever it would be, or Latino, and he's in there in support, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm out of here, and here's your clothes." And I would be a good 2 months in my mom's upstairs bedroom, yes.
One comment, and then we'll wrap it up here tonight. Remember, do you also remember when Tony's at? I guess like towards the beginning of the episode, they're at the strip club, and Tony bets on the game, and the one random guy goes, "Fucking
Buffalo!"
Buffalo!" And the guy goes,
Buffalo.
and Tony
This
goes,
jerk off probably had $35 on the game down
Tony
there.
goes,
Oh,
Tony
yes,
goes,
that's
"That
a
probably
great.
had
You guys
$25
need to
on that
watch
game."
that episode. I forget what the name of the episode is, but that is
Chasing
a
it.
gambling episode that you need. Yes, I'm gonna put $100,000 on this. I'm gonna do this. Give me half my money on that spec house so I can place it on this game. It was a sure thing. Oh, tremendous episode. Yeah.
How about also, Donnie, if you ever want another
2-1 Meadow Gold. 2-1 Meadow Gold. We got to put it on here.
Yeah, because it's Meadow, right? Another good episode about gambling is the Happy Wanderer, when David, his friend, gets in deep with the boxes of ziti, Donnie, in season 2. That's great.
That's
that's
the
a great
best.
one.
That's the bust the Scatino bust out is one of my favorite couple episodes, man.
Sure. AJ was like Fredo. Tony eventually would have had to kill him. He wouldn't have killed. No way. AJ wasn't like that. AJ wasn't involved in the family.
Tony killed Chris. I still get shocked every time I see Tony kill Chris. I just can't believe it.
What had to happen? I mean, he was at that point just too big of a. I mean, he had never want to get clean. He was a risk at that point. All right, guys, have a great day. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Always fun chatting football and Sopranos and all sorts of stuff. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining us. I'll be on the channels all day. I got a lot going on. We'll talk Monday Night Football, 3 o'clock on the WCKG show. Join us for that. We'll give some predictions and have some fun with Houston, Tennessee. Everyone have a great day. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.